Today, Precarious plays
Transistor.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah?
we could just sit here for a long time and talk about all of this.
Oh my gosh, could we? Yes. It's gorgeous.
Content rich, I think is how I would describe it.
Yeah, also, is this lady killing somebody, or did this lady find somebody killed with a sword?
Well, first off, it's not a sword. Clearly, it's more of an oar, because it doesn't have a sharp edge.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, it's Klimt-y on the sides, right?
Yeah. It is. That gilded little spherical patterns.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, before the gameplay starts, let's just go ahead and really talk a little bit before we get going. Oddette, you know how the purpose of this show, like the secret purpose, is that it gives a space for you to consistently play games.
Yeah.
Because if you frame something as work, you'll stick with it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if it's an assignment, if it's homework, gosh, I'll do it.
I've got a confession.
Yeah.
I may have placed an unfair burden on you. It has become an unfair burden because you've started seeking out games on your own time without the framework of the show.
Finally, yeah. I've beaten games this year.
Well, I mean, it's about the acquisition of games literacy.
Yeah.
The point is, now in the present, I use this show to say, like, you need to stick with a game and you need to beat it. But I have games that I haven't beaten. And Transistor is one of them. And I thought that it was high time that I take a game that I haven't beaten and stick with it. How about that, me?
Yeah, how about that, you?
Hey, Red. We're not gonna get away with this, are we? Come on, pull.
Is that the corpse talking?
There. Together again.
So I have my suspicions about what's going on. I haven't cleared this game. I've tried several times.
Night. You're still in one piece. That's all that matters.
I've tried several times, but it's never stuck. I actually have my save data, I think. Yeah, from one of the last times. This is not the most recent time I tried to beat it.
Oh, geez, yeah.
I think that this is the first time I tried to clear it. I have since deleted the more recent attempt, which was here.
Mm-hmm.
User level 8. That was the element that they both shared. There's something about level 8 that I get there and I'm quietly repelled from this game. Which by all rights I should love. You know?
Yeah, I mean, just from the art style, you...
Yikes. Found us already. They want you back, I bet.
That disembodied voice is interesting. But, usually you're willing to sit through a certain amount of struggle for this type of art.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really surprised that you haven't beaten this. We talked about this game, years ago.
Well, I think that part of the problem for me is that it couldn't have been something traumatic that is rebuffing me.
So not like an angry boss fight or something stupid and unfair?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It can't. If it was something terrible, then I would remember, right?
I would have. I mean, usually, yeah.
It's some quiet, repelling force. What do you remember about this game? About the game part of this video game?
Basically nothing about, the mechanics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't remember really any of it. I just remember it being beautiful.
It's an odd one. It's a real-time game with a turn-based component. No, it is a turn-based game that you are allowed to play in real time. No, that's wrong. Now that I'm playing it with a controller, the first couple of times I tried to beat it, I was playing with mouse and keyboard, and I mostly discounted the real-time mode. Mm-hmm. Playing it with a controller, I think it handles pretty deftly. Mm-hmm. There's this slight stickiness when you're aiming that I don't appreciate. Like, I'm trying to aim exactly to the right here, and I keep locking onto these, like doing a soft lock on these targets. Mm-hmm. So still, it feels a little stickier than I would like for a pure action game.
Hello, world. Look at all that.
Yeah, look at all that.
I should... I love all of Supergiant's catalog, right?
Yeah.
Bastion, Transistor, Pyre. I'm not so interested in their newest game. I think it might just be called Hades. Mm-hmm. Because it's procedurally generated.
Yeah.
And it might be an excellent procedurally generated game, but I personally think it's a bit of a shame that they have made... Here we go. It's on the screen. They've made such beautiful authored content. I hate to see such talented people...
Just be like, let's let the numbers do it.
Yeah. So in this turn-based mode, you can see that there's a bar at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
Whenever it is ready, you can press the right trigger to go into this turn-based mode, or this metered mode. Your actions, including movement, they take up sections of that meter, and then there is a cooldown that is based on the amount of meter that you used, right? Mm-hmm. So there can occasionally be an incentive to hold back a little bit, not take a really full turn. Mm-hmm. You get bonuses for backstabbing enemies fairly often. Mm-hmm. Watch what happens whenever I start the turn process. So see how they got knocked out of position?
Yeah.
Or they were starting to? Mm-hmm. As the game progresses and you fight enemies that move a little faster or have like teleports, for example, or as your own attacks become more explosive, you can actually displace enemies during what is ostensibly like a turn-based universe.
Yeah.
It's very like D&D, where in D&D everything is supposed to be happening like in 6-second chunks that are occurring simultaneously, and whenever you actually see that play out in a computer game, sometimes it can be a little frustrating. It creates this disparity where the beginning of a turn here, like the first half of it, is often more accurate than the second half.
Yeah, because things can move on you.
Yeah. So, this is part of a corpse?
Hi. You okay?
No, not okay.
I see. Sure. She wants to come along. We can use her.
What?
Yeah, I haven't cleared the game, so I can't say for certain. We're in the realm of like technology so advanced that it's indistinguishable from something arcane, you know?
Yeah, so we just broke off a piece of her soul and brought it with us?
Yeah, or everyone here is an artificial intelligence, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, are they living in a digitized society? Is your protagonist, is Red a program? Is it red.exe?
Yeah.
Or is it a society that is so sophisticated, they are so thoroughly integrated with their electronics? Like, are we in a VR environment or an incredibly sophisticated AR environment?
Yeah.
You But I mean, like this, for example, they're not even, they are super upfront with the peculiar nature of this space, because it's like people just vote on the weather.
I did not fully absorb what was happening.
I think that your Blade friend is the Transistor. So Transistor was just lamenting that rain isn't an option.
This is really cool. So you get to kind of plot out your turn.
Well, you can. Actually, you know what? Here, let me show you. Like, it is possible to just play the game in real time.
Yeah, and that's fun. I mean, especially with little enemies. I'm thinking about, like, if I was playing through this game and I came upon some things that... You know how when you're walking around a map in a fantasy game, in, like, a JRPG or something, and, like, every stinking angry toadstool you come across has to load, like, the battle map, and it's like...
Yeah. Pretty often.
Like, being able to skip that for certain enemies without just running from them is a nice feature.
Hey, end of the plaza. It's you.
So Red's famous.
Yes, and the specific nature of her fame is incredibly compelling. I remember it just from the times that I've tried to beat this before.
Yeah. So she's a singer? Or a poet? Or some kind of performer?
No, she's an activist that uses song to express discontent. The singing is sort of incidental, I think.
So she sings the blues.
Yeah.
Just what it must be like to sing the blues to a world that doesn't even allow rain.
I did some research before we started playing because it's been a while since college art history.
Yeah.
I have settled on this game using a mix. The architecture, I would say it feels very Art Deco.
Yeah.
But then there are all of these repeated patterns that feel a little older. But then some of the posters feel a little more like Art Nouveau. All together, if you take all of those styles, it's just this presentation of luxury and confidence in technology and progress. Actually, you know what? I can show you one of the inaccuracies of the turn system, I think. So here, if I were to move here, will that actually defeat all of them? I think that it might actually detonate in the right spot. Occasionally with this targeting system. There, okay, so right here, it looks like it should defeat all of them, right?
Yeah.
But the forecast that happens right after shows that that's not exactly true, because you can see that Spark is going to impact on the first one. It will reach the second, but the third will be unscathed, right?
Yeah.
This is an okay example. As you go along, you realize that enemies will be displaced by explosives pretty frequently, and it's this curious sort of like real-time parallel to a more traditional RPG's accuracy statistic.
Through there. I think I know a place we can get a ride.
It's weird. It's just a weird, cool game. And you know, we're doing a big Final Fantasy VII commentary right now. I'm glad that we're playing this game because I think it's a much more interesting, focused take on a real-time turn-based hybrid.
Yeah. Well, and I also like the feel of the bar at the top that is your turn. It's like you're building a timeline. Whenever you're in that map with the dots on it.
Yeah. Yeah, this space is just called turn.
So when you're in your turn, It feels like you're building a timeline of events that you want to happen.
Mr. Moyle.
It's almost like when you're in a fighting game and you're thinking about the order you have to press the buttons in order to get certain combos to come out. I wonder, question for you.
Yes.
Does turn make you better at
Cut off
the
our
real time, at fighting in real time? Because you think about what you have available, set it up, and see how it acts on the world. It kind of gives you a way to experiment precisely.
I am not... I mostly thought of it as a turn-based affair. Playing it with a controller, I actually find it quite reasonable to play it in real time. I think that there are definitely some interesting interplay. So let me try to show you an example right here. If I were to jaunt, it would take that little bit of meter, right?
Right.
What I'm going to try to do here instead is I'm going to pull this enemy out in the middle of the map. And I'm going to try to essentially, like, I'm going to pay a health tax to do the jaunt before using turn. So now I'm roughly in the position that I would want to be using jaunt anyway.
Yeah.
So now I can just take a quick step here and then start doing crash and backstab damage, right?
Right. Now, you can crash and backstab out of turn, right?
Yes. But see, it turned before I managed to actually execute my functions.
Yeah.
So that was a great example of what can go awry, right?
Is there anything that you have access to in turn that you don't have access to out of turn?
At least a few things, yes. There's one that I can think of immediately. It's one of my favorite weird little things that this game has in it. It's called Super User.
Yeah.
But that's really specific. I'll try to show it to you whenever we get it. But I think that is turn unique. For right now, we eventually get all of these low-level functions. I'm going to have to use all of it anyway, eventually, for narrative reasons. So if you could do me a favor, and could you be a chooser and pick the function that I'm going to take here?
Okay.
With the understanding that it won't be a disaster. There's no wrong choice because we're going to get both of these sooner or later.
I prefer the color yellow today.
Mild and inoffensive, that yellow. So we'll come back tomorrow and
We're still here.
delve into one of the most interesting intersections of mechanics and narrative I've ever seen in my entire life.
Okay. So this is the game you didn't finish.
Yeah, I know, right?